Welcome to the Church of Mabus radio show. It's Friday night, 7:11 p.m. Central. We're all still alive, still marching to the apocalypse. I don't have a co-host tonight. He's at Home Depot. I guess they've been working him to death. Jay, he'll be here next week. Just real quick, going to go over a couple of the guests. Hold on. All right, okay. Next week, J.D. Walker. That's from Llewellyn. That's trees and like Celtic kind of stuff. March 24th, Carol Day. That's shamanism. March 31st, old friends Rob and Trish McGregor. That's synchronicities, I believe. I need to redig that PDF out. And then April 7th, Don Webb. That's always a good one. His book is How to Be a Wizard Situation, and he did Vampire Magic. He's done a lot of weird books. And of course, he's in the Temple of Set, which is always creepy, so I try not to say anything too creepy about that. But they don't bother me, I don't bother them, and he's within our tradition, so there we go. But Beazle, my old co-host, is coming back 14th for his show. Ronnie Pontiac, that's April 21st. I believe that's like Rosicrucians and stuff, like History of America. April 28th, James Alcalon. That's he wrote a cool horror book with our friends Joe Orlansdale and Al Going Back, OWL. That's like all these universal horror fiction monster stories. And Joe Orlansdale and Al have been on the show, and they contributed to it. I haven't read it yet. I have it. But he also did some new one called Shakespeare Unleashed, which is everybody telling weird horror Shakespeare stories. So the book, I believe, is Monsters Unleashed. So that's a good one. And let's see. That's it for April. Tonight's guest, Matthew Ash McKernan. How's it going, Matthew? It's great to have you here.
It's going good. And Ash is fine. Yeah, I do use both names. But yeah, Ash is kind of the predominant one lately. So
okay,
yeah, I'm going good. It's going good. I am well, thank you.
Of course, I'll try not to think of the Necronomicon and Evil Dead every time I call you Ash, but it'll be hard for me.
Yeah.
But it's great to have you here. I love Norse. I'm no expert at it, of course. I know it's in my blood. If you trace back my ancestry, there's all kinds of stuff in there, and that's in there. And I love the music. And, I grew up with Christianity in the South, and I love native spirituality. I love Norse. There's just so many good ones, and I resonate with those. And that's why I like to do shows in Norse. It's not always easy to find a guest on that subject. They're there, but it's not as frequent as the native shamanism and stuff. So I always love to do these type shows to learn all I can about it. So, and the book is Wyrdcraft, Healing Self and Nature Through the Mysteries of the Fates. If you could give us a little bit of a background on your connection with Norse and your belief system, how it intertwines and everything.
Background. Let's see. Well, how far back should I go?
Back to the beginning. Back to the beginning.
I guess it does go back to the beginning in a way. I mean, I was raised in Ohio, and there was a rural area, a lot of fields, a lot of forests, farms, and I spent what feels like most of my time outside, and tons of time in the woods. And I think that's kind of my first, where my spirituality began, without really knowing it, and also where my relationship with weird began, without knowing it. But I was raised Catholic, and so I got a dose of ritual in a very, very specific way. I think there's lots of different types of Catholicism around the world and around the country and around the state, and but one thing that was pretty clear was that I didn't really feel the divine in the church per se, but I did feel something in the woods, and I just called that God. And I guess many years passed, and my connection with nature just kind of deepened, and eventually I got into Buddhist practices in my late teens and early 20s, and eventually into some Hindu Tantra work in my late 20s. And that was kind of where I was introduced to magic through that work. And then I met some Thelemites and got to know about more Western forms of magic through that. And that they all kind of wove together in a way. So I didn't really leave any of those earlier practices behind, so to speak. They kind of stayed with me.
Did Catholics stay with you, or did you ditch it?
It stayed with me in a strange way.
I understand that. I understand that.
It did take time for me to come to integrate it, to learn like how to integrate it in a healthy way. Because the Catholic guilt stayed with me, and
that's kind of how it is with, I grew up Christian, and I still believe, but it's like I studied other belief systems, but it's a hard one to get rid of. It's like I'll find myself back reading scripture or listening to something. Scripture is hard. It's like you can't get rid of it, even if you want to or try to sometimes. It just comes right back. Hello, it's me, Jesus. It's like that.
Maybe a part of our just the human psyche, in a way, the propensity towards guilt and fear of damnation, and all that good stuff, which is also within the Norse. It's in the Norse. We could probably get into that later, but Ragnarok and whatnot. But, yeah. So eventually, I came across the concept of weird, and that was like I went to grad school to become a therapist. And it was kind of a spiritual counseling program that had a spiritual bent. So I was learning to integrate different spiritual practices with therapy and with my understanding of psychotherapy, and as I like to call it now, psyche therapy, which just means it's soul therapy, which I feel is more accurate. But went to grad school, and then that's when I found out about weird around the same time, and then all the things that I had done in the past came together, and kind of this braid became very, I don't know, it became visible, and that braid was weird, and it explained everything in my worldview. And it doesn't mean there's no mystery, because there's definitely tons of mystery there still, but
we're weird here. You come to the right place. The whole reason we're here is because of weird stuff. Mm-hmm. I know there's many different definitions of weird, and I want to get into that, but just to give you a little background, the main reason this show was created was because I had a lot of weird spiritual paranormal things happen to me after at 17, testicular cancer and chemo. And then my dad died a few years later, and somehow all of that suffering opened my senses, and a lot of weird stuff happened, from UFO stuff to with witnesses. A friend was like, Jeffrey, you're attracting them here. And I don't know if I've ever been taken or anything like that. If so, I don't remember a damn thing. But I've seen weird stuff in the skies over every house I've lived at that were strange, and it kind of seemed like it wanted me to see it, kind of stuff with witnesses. And then also a lot of strange beings, and it doesn't happen as much as it used to. I wish it would. But some of the beings, one day I was inside actually listening to scripture on TV or watching it on some DVD, one of those meditation things, and something said, go outside and look in the sky. And I went outside. completely sober, no nicotine, no weed, completely sober. Looked towards my house and saw two beams of light leave my house, like shining people, as if they'd been inside the house and flew through the roof into the heavens. And I didn't catch a film or anything. I don't even know if I had a cell phone then, but I had someone draw it once. That's the closest I've come to getting it in a manifestation, besides in my mind and remembering it. But it's, I think the suffering and stuff opened up my senses on a lot of different levels, and that led to doing the show. And next thing you know, I was interviewing Stanton Friedman, nuclear physicist. He's passed now. Jim Mars, who inspired Oliver Stone's JFK movie. He wrote a book. Jim Mars wrote a book, Alien Agenda. He's passed. So many greats. And it led down to, I think it's like year 15 now, interviewing people about this stuff. And that's why we're here. It's weird stuff. So tell us what WYRD is compared to weird, like WEIRD.
Yeah. It's a big question, and I think that there is total crossover, like what we call weird, like your experiences that you're sharing. That is weird with a Y too. That's weird, and in the sense that, so this kind of ancient definition of weird leans towards fate, destiny, nature, soul, magic, and this process of becoming. So the way you describe that, like these things happen to you, right? You said that the suffering opened you up to stuff, and it led to you doing what you're doing now, which, you could say that that's part of your destiny to do these things. And it was part of your fate to have these experiences where you did suffer in order to open up, and etc. And so you had these experiences that connected you or opened you up to soul, to magic, and to your awareness of these things happening. So weird is an experience. First and foremost, it's a mystery. It's an experience. It's connected to the goddess, traditionally, and that's and a force, and also the Norns, which are the three fates of the Norse pantheon. But the fates, fate gods and goddesses and beings exist all around the world, and so weird is just one word to describe this phenomenon that exists all over the world. And another word might be Tao, or another word might be Ma'at, which would be the Egyptian form, and weird is more. So
it's an interesting word. I mean, it definitely is definitely interesting for sure. And thanks for the explanation of it. It makes sense, and it is similar to weird. It's just like there's more to it. But I noticed the spider. How does that tie into all this? Like the deities, you have a section on spider deities, and that's the Norns. Are they similar to that? The web?
Well, the Norns, there are no spiders really. There aren't a lot of spiders talked about in Norse mythology. I think there's only a couple mentions, and some people associate the spider with Loki, but I don't think that's actually been proven, so to speak. But the Norns, they sit under the world tree, and they take care of the world tree. And as they're what they do is they lay down the orlog of beings of life, and that's orlog is another word for fate. And it's said in the lore that they're carving the fates out of wood. And some people say, it's like carving runes, or it's they're carving into the world tree itself, or it's not really certain. So, and there's also mentions of other Norns. There's many Norns, and some of these other Norns are attendant at the birth, at people's births, and I believe that they have been talked about as being weavers, weaving weaving one's destiny. And so the connection with spiders really isn't anything that's like from the lore. It's just from this idea of fate being something that is woven, or the nature of reality being something that is woven. They weave something into existence, they measure it out, and then they cut it. That's what the three fates do in Greek and Roman mythology. So the spider is the builder of the webs, and I believe that in the Native American mythologies, spider grandmother, she's associated with technology. She's associated with the creation of the universe, the multiverse, and she's a guide. She helps people. She helps people find their destiny, find their purpose, and so that's the kind of the connection with spider in there.
And I mean, we all know that the days of the week are named after a lot of them, and I mean, it seems like religion kind of hijacked a lot of their beliefs and then incorporated into all their commercialism holidays, like Christmas and all that stuff. I mean, they hijacked them. I'm just kind of off the cuff. The Loki, that did they? Do you think they stole the story of Satan from that a lot, or at least parts of it, or is there any connection to some thievery with that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Loki and Pan and Dionysus and a lot of beings kind of they kind of borrowed a lot of this imagery and then called it the devil or called it Satan. But yeah, Loki is definitely the trickster, and even modern heathens, some love him, some aren't so sure about him, and some won't even say his name, because he has such a predominant part in the end of the world, in the Ragnarok, and he's making trouble a lot and causing a lot of problems. But there's a lot of different ways to look at Loki, and I personally see him as a creator, a very complicated creator destroyer deity who has I don't know. I could say a ton about Loki, but I appreciate Loki's presence.
I've always found him fascinating for sure, and the trickster element, that's a big thing in the paranormal. Like, I love coyote stuff too, and all those folklore and stuff. And I mean, with Norse, it's interesting to say some of the, I guess the Norse people don't like to even say his name. That's similar, with Satan. People don't like to say his name. So it's just weird parallels that I try to understand. But as far as Loki, I mean, he wasn't always, was he always evil? I mean, he made weapons for Odin, and I know there was the Balder situation where he whacked him, I believe. But, there's, it's more complicated than just, evil, right?
Yep. Yeah, one thing I really like about the Balder story is that if Balder hadn't been killed, he wouldn't have gone to hell, to the underworld, and he wouldn't have been safe, so to speak, and lived through Ragnarok, because he was one of the handful of people that survived Ragnarok that came back to basically start the whole cycle over again. So,
wow, okay.
So a lot of people say that Loki actually did a huge favor, for everybody.
So he sent him to the underworld to come back after Ragnarok, sort of like a.
Yeah.
That's weird. I've never heard that, but I believe you for sure. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, did he bring fire to mankind? Is that the same story as Coyote? Is there a story like that with
There's
fire?
Prometheus. Prometheus brought fire, and there is an association with Loki and fire, but it's some people don't. Some people are like, no, Loki is not fire. Some people say he is, and yeah, I'm not a scholar. I'm not like a Norse scholar or a Norse academic or an academic really.
Yeah.
I've read these stories a lot and I love them, but I have a hard time retaining them just because my mind doesn't really work that way. But
I understand for sure.
yeah,
I got those Neil Gaiman Norse comics. Those are pretty cool. Beautiful artwork. It's retelling them all and stuff. I know he did some book too of it, but it's definitely there's something to it, powerful, and you can just feel it on so many different levels. The way it's laid out and everything with the world tree
mm-hmm.
and everything, and so I guess tell us more. I mean, about your book and what exactly it embodies. Where would you start? Let's say someone wants to get your book. What would you say to them to kind of get them started for someone that may be a beginner or they're not experts and they want to start somewhere?
Start somewhere with what specifically, like
Well,
just
your
my book.
book, yeah, your book,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I would say that the book is for it's I wrote it for beginners. I wrote it for intermediate. I wrote it for advanced. For anybody. And what it is, it's I've done a lot of thinking about the book, obviously, and how to summarize it. It's kind of hard to summarize it in a quick, you know, easily digestible paragraph or something. But in general, it is about magic, and it is about very practical magic that is accessible to everybody. And you don't need to go buy a bunch of things, and you don't you know it's very, I say it's practical, and what I mean by that is that it kind of gets to, in a sense, the essence of magic, which is change, and specifically awareness and change. So this connection between awareness and change, and awareness and choice. So choice being this magical practice. So Wyrdcraft is very simplified. The practice of bringing more and more awareness to everything, to as much, the moment, whatever is happening in the moment, and then seeing, okay, which, you know, when you become aware in the moment, you're going to become aware of a lot, right? There's a lot happening, but one thing that you're going to become aware of is the web that connects everybody, and you're going to see, oh, there's wounds, like I hurt, my body hurts, or the world is hurting, or you're going to see suffering, and you're going to see how that has come to be, how that suffering has come to be, and then you're going to see what you can do to help heal that. So by bringing awareness to something and by making new choices, we have the ability to do magic and basically heal everything. You know, of course, what is healing? That's kind of the next question. So what exactly does healing mean? Because you can't like heal your body when you're dying, or you. Some people can, like, they go through illnesses. I mean, you had illnesses that you went through and your body healed. So there's some things that we have control over and some things we don't. That's goes back to free will and fate, and all that. But the book is basically kind of a guidebook to bringing awareness to the nature of things, and then seeing where our wounds are. And then as we heal our wounds, we gain access to our potentials. Just like, I don't want to keep bringing it back to you because I don't know your full experience, but you had wounds that you worked through, you healed, and that led to you finding your potential or fulfilling your potential and accessing your magic and whatnot. And I think it's the same for everybody, that when we heal our wounds, when we bring awareness to the nature of things, we really tap into this magical power that is flowing through the universe, that we can use to heal every domain, mind, body, relationship, environment, soul, spirit, etc. So yeah, Weirdcraft is for anybody, really. And it's not a specific practice. It's not like different than, it's more of an overarching kind of theory, and you can put your own practices into this theory of Weirdcraft. Like, everybody is already doing Weirdcraft. It's just an unconscious thing. So the idea is to become more and more conscious of this thing that we're already doing, and then to guide it in ways that it's more mindful, more loving, more healing, more magical, more soulful.
So have you had many experiences, like, let's say, when people practice this kind of stuff, like, can it bring on paranormal or spiritual experiences? And have you had any that you could share?
Yeah. The synchronicity, like that phenomenon of synchronicity, that's weird. That's like a perfect. That's one way that weird manifests, and I've definitely had my fair share of weird experiences and tons of synchronicities. But the first thing that kind of comes to mind is my different experiences I've had with ghosts and spirits, and how those have been really healing experiences, for, I think, for everybody involved. And one experience that, well, it's a very, is that what you're asking? Do you want to hear?
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd
Okay.
definitely be great. Did you see We Have a Ghost on Netflix yet?
No.
It's actually pretty good. It's got that David Harbour, the guy from Stranger Things, and he's a ghost in these people's house, and it's funny. It's a good watch for sure. but go ahead.
Yeah. So I was in Zion National Park in Utah, and I was there with my family, and this was, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, and we were staying in a big old house, that we rented, and instantly it felt weird being in this house. Just using that word weird, it's already the gears are kind of turning, like, oh, this is somehow related to fate and destiny and magic and soul, and it's also very strange and odd. And so my sister, my sister-in-law, both sensed that there was something strange in this house, as well as I, and it started to become more apparent at nighttime. And so just like this weird, unsettled feeling, strange noises, hearing footsteps in the house. And none of us were really talking about this at the time, but we were all experiencing this. And we were there for about a week, and every night it felt like this presence, this ghost, this thing, whatever was in there, was getting closer. It just had this feeling like okay, it's closer. It's closer. And it was what I think was, it was an experience that was getting closer and closer until the kind of, when this experience climaxed, so to speak. I was in my bed, and the lights were out, and I wasn't able to sleep, because I just had the heebie-jeebies, and I'm looking out the window, and the window is closed with these blinds, and there's these little like, the blinds, they have like a string that goes through them, and there's little holes in each of the slats. And so anyway, I could see a shadow move in front of the light that was reflecting from outside. So I knew that something was in the room, and it was very close. And I was, I knew that there was no escaping it. I knew that it was just getting closer and closer, and I said, okay. So I surrendered to it, and I just opened my heart, right? And said, what like, what do you want? What do you need? And what came to me was the realization that this being, which kind of looked like a big boulder, a shadow boulder, kind of, was a lost prayer. And that's, and it didn't really make sense in the moment, like, lost prayer. And then I had a flashback of 2 or 3 days beforehand, when I was walking around the desert, around the property. It was just a lot of open desert, but there were these trees about 10, 15 feet tall, and sand, and it just stretched on. And I almost got lost when I was walking around, and I realized, oh shit, like, I have to be really careful, because I could really easily get lost in here. And I just got this feeling in that moment of like, how terrifying that would be, to get lost in the desert. And okay, fast forward, a couple days, and I had this realization of this thing being a lost prayer. And what it was, I realized, was that when I was out in the woods, that's when the ghost, I had a connection with that ghost, and that ghost followed me back into the house, and basically was like, hear me, hear me, hear me. And what it was that someone had gotten lost in the woods and died, and that was their last prayer. When they were dying, it's like, somebody find me, somebody hear me, I need help, and no one heard it. And so this soul was stuck, and it's his prayer. It felt like his prayer needed to be heard. And so in that moment, I heard the prayer, and I just started bawling. Like, because I kind of became him for a moment, where I was him in the woods, alone, lost, dying, and just like scared, and having this emotional experience. And then it went through me, and then I felt it just kind of go back into the infinite. I opened myself up, and this being returned to source, and it was free. It was no longer a lost prayer. It was no longer a lost soul. And this wasn't the first time I had an experience of doing that, but this was the most intense. But I had to learn a couple things before I was able to do that. But it happened, and then the house was clear, so to speak. No more noises, no more weird feeling. In fact, it was like incredibly peaceful. Slept really well, and it was a life-changing experience. Sure.
Did you ever know what kind of ghost or who it was or what time period they came from or anything like that?
Not exactly, just that it was a guy who got lost in the woods in the desert, in that kind of desert forest. Because there was no way to orient, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there was the sun, but you get lost in the desert, and you get lost in the wilderness. You know, pretty much
So
anywhere. You're in big trouble.
thinking about the actor Julian Sands. You hear about that? The guy that he was in Warlock, that horror movie called Warlock. He's a British guy with long blonde hair. He's been in a bunch of
Yeah,
stuff, but he went uh, out in the ice in California and didn't come back. And like John Malkovich and everybody was, saying stuff because they're friends with him. He's an actor named Julian Sands, but he's been in a lot of weird stuff. But
yeah,
he went out ice. He was into ice climbing and all that crazy stuff, and went out there, and it's like been he's been gone too long. They didn't find him, so he's got to be dead. But yeah, that happened recently. You'd probably recognize if you saw him. His name's Julian Sands.
yeah. I've seen the movie, and I can picture him too. I didn't. When did that happen?
Uh, Recently, like the last month or so. You saw Warlock?
Yeah,
That's some 80s cheese right there. It's good though.
I love those movies. Yeah, I definitely was watching all those in high school and
Yeah,
loved horror films.
me too. And I like those so much more than what we got now. That's for sure.
Yeah.
There are more creature features.
Mhm.
The weird torture porn we have now. That's horrible. Yeah. It's too much almost. But yeah, you should check out We Have a Ghost. It's by the guy that did that Happy Death Day, like some movie where some girl's caught in a time loop. It's a horror movie and she keeps getting killed on her birthday or something. But it's a family movie. He did a family movie, so it's for that's good though. The ghost is trapped in their house.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those movies that didn't get the best reviews, but you watch it and everyone likes it. Like it's pretty. I liked it. Everybody I've heard likes it, so it's definitely worth checking out if you want a comedy. I always find it fascinating how these different belief systems have similar creatures. Like for instance, American Indian Native stuff has the little people, and a lot of Norse. I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess dwarfs are in there, yeah. And then giants is in a lot of different cultures. And sometimes I wonder if Bigfoot is giants, which they are, right? Are they left over from, the Norse times? Are they the Titans? There's just so many different ways. I have a book about Bigfoot. It's just filled with interviews with people about Bigfoot who do Bigfoot stuff. But so we do shows about that kind of stuff. But that's fascinating to think about. And then I saw, I think it was India, their belief system had there was something similar to the Thunderbird and the serpent story from Native American stuff about the Thunderbird and serpents that come up from underground and they are mortal enemies. And I know there's the Garuda and stuff. That's like a weird bird deity. But it's just interesting how all these things have similarities that are kind of creepy in a lot of ways, for sure. And has anything weird ever happened to you in the woods? Seen anything or any kind of experiences?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've seen a number of beings like that have been pretty hard to define and describe. I've had a couple Bigfoot experiences.
Really?
I've had, yeah, one of them in particular. I'm curious. I'd be down to share it because I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on it.
That would be great. Share your Bigfoot story. My co-host has seen a Bigfoot staring in the window at kids, and he saw it, and the Bigfoot got mad and left, which is kind of creepy. Hopefully, the Bigfoot was being, just being innocent and watching kids, not anything creepy. Yeah. But I think there's a variety of Bigfoot. I'd like to think most of them are, good, but I think there are some stories that make you say, are they taking people and eating them? Like there's that Mr. 411 stuff with David Paulides and all that. All these people disappearing in national parks and stuff. So I don't try to paint a genocidal picture of Bigfoot. I think there's white people, they're assholes and they're good people. So I'm sure the same thing with Bigfoot. But yeah, please tell us. That'd be great.
Yeah. So I was in the Sierra Nevada in on the western side in California, and I was up on I don't know, kind of a mountaintop, and was up there meditating and um, soaking in the sun. And I had an experience up there where it was kind of a flat top, and I was just imagining like Mayan Aztec peoples who would have their hearts cut out, on the pyramids, and that they would, in a sense, that sacrifice, the offering their blood so that the crops would grow, so the corn would grow, and just kind of going into this trance, and something similar, happened, or I'm up there, and I kind of I felt like I died, and went into the light, and it was a beautiful experience. And I kind of sat up after that was done, and I was looking across this valley at another mountain, and then I saw like maybe like 50 feet tall, this large lumbering Bigfoot looking rainbow being, just walking past. And it kind of looked like in Predator, like the camouflage that Predator has.
Yeah.
It kind of looked like that, but there was some like rainbow, kind of a rainbow spectrum in it, and it just, I saw it cross in front of the mountain, and it just kept going, and it
Wow.
looked, even though there wasn't any detail of, I couldn't see eyes or fingers, I could see the shape of it walking, and it looked very much like you know like pictures of Bigfoot, or I don't know,
It was
like
50 foot tall, though. That's
it
what
was
we're.
huge, it was massive. And
It's definitely cool. I know there's one time I was on the ocean and I saw a being that made me, when you described that, it made me think of what I saw. But this was weird. It was almost like it was in the sky and walking like in the horizon. Like there was no mountains. It was the ocean on the beach down here. And it
yeah,
was kind of like it was walking across the sky. But the way you described that made me think of it. And I haven't thought of that story in a long time. But I've seen weird stuff with the sun before that was weird. Like I've seen aerial stuff in the sky that looked like almost like a golden amoeba that should be like in the ocean or in a fantasy movie in the sky floating around, like aerial phenomenon. But yeah, and some people think they're the Nephilim, which that's kind of creepy. Which maybe they are. I don't know. The
the what?
descendants who the Nephilim,
Oh, yeah, the angels.
from the spawn of angels being naughty and left over from the flood, from Noah and all that, which may be so. There's just so many different ways to look at it. It's definitely fascinating, for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if we saw a similar being there, like that rainbow being.
Yeah. And then, of course, you got people who think they're just physical, which I think there's something more to them. I don't know what exactly. There's some predator stuff going on. I know for sure with a mask. There are people that get mad if you say there's something besides physical. But here's my theory: what if they're physical and spiritual? When the physical body dies, they're a spirit. So it could be ghost Bigfoots and physical Bigfoots. It could be the same.
Yeah,
That's logical. I think.
I
Definitely.
I love the quote that I don't know, I think it's Terrence McKenna, who said something like um, the nature of things is weirder than you can ever imagine, or it's like, so these things that we're talking about, these experiences, they're like, they're weird, and there's really no end to weirdness. Like weird is a whole is like rabbit hole that has no end. So yeah, why would Bigfoot not have multiple forms, just as other beings have multiple forms? And,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. I've had Bigfoot people threaten to beat me up for saying Bigfoot was paranormal. They're gonna come beat me up at my house. Like, that's crazy. But crazy. If you look at Ron Moorhead, he has a book, Quantum Bigfoot. This dude's like a professional Bigfoot guy. It's called Quantum Bigfoot. So he's even leaning in that direction. So there's more going on. So I know we were going to talk about Ragnarok. Let's get into that some, or a lot, or whatever. But did Loki was he like the leader of the Titans and Giants and stuff? Was he like considered their leader, or was that something else?
He led them into battle. He led the giants into battle on this big ship made of toenails.
Toenails? Ship of toenails? Yeah. Their toenails?
Toenails of dead people. Yeah.
Oh man, that's gotta be some cheese, buddy. But yeah, well, that's what I've always wondered. With Loki and all these Bigfoots and stuff, pop out of the woodwork again and lead them to take us over like Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. The final death blow was given by a giant named Surt. And have you seen the Thor Ragnarok, the Marvel movie?
Yes.
That's Surt is that huge fire demon, that fire giant who comes with a big sword and delivers the death blow. So you could say that maybe he's the leader in a sense. He's like the final boss or whatever. But yeah, Loki is the father of hell, right? So Loki went down to hell and it's like, hey, we're gonna go to war. Can I borrow some of your people? And Loki definitely had a big hand in the pre-Ragnarok events, because there was a lot of events that led up to it. But I don't know.
And then they bound him. I mean, that's similar to them binding Satan. There's similar imprisonation stories for sure.
And Prometheus as well.
Did they ever say with Loki if he would ever become unbound in any of their texts, or will he always supposedly just be? And to you, has Ragnarok already happened, or is it something that's like a metaphor, or may happen, or what's your view on the happening of it?
Well, I guess my point of view is that Ragnarok is cyclical. It's a natural process, and it's happened many times, and it's happened on the soul on many levels too, in many different dimensions. You could say it happens on a cellular level, with every cell that comes into existence and blinks out of existence and is it's like rebirth and all that. So
yeah,
but I do think that there are many cycles that are happening, and it seems as if we're in one right now, like as far as the human experiment on Earth right now, that we are getting closer to this another Ragnarok at a big level, at a planetary level.
Yeah. The doomsday clock certainly closer.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely been crazy with everything.
Yeah. But I think it is also a metaphor in the sense that, there's death and then a rebirth, and that kind of going back to this idea of magic and kind of choice and practical magic and whatnot, that we have the possibility to kind of live out our own Ragnarok internally, and kind of the things that need to die within us can die, and a new world can be reborn within us. So I'm thinking about that psychologically. letting go of old habits, old patterns. You know, a lot of what happens in Ragnarok is that the gods and the giants and all the beings kill themselves, and it's unfortunate because it's like, well, couldn't they figure something out? You know, didn't. And then I was imagining what happened if they all had therapists.
Yeah.
You
How did
know,
they kill themselves? Is it so? What is it? I mean, all the giants killed themselves during Ragnarok. They jump off ledges or
no,
what?
no, they're killing each other. So the
Oh,
giant,
okay.
yeah, the gods and the giants are fighting each other, and you know the wolf kills Odin, the snake kills Thor, and Thor kills the snake, and Odin kills the wolf. So they're just Loki and Heimdall. They kill each other, and yeah, there's two humans who survive, and there's the sons of Thor survive, the sons of Odin survive, and Balder survives, and Hoder, who's Balder's brother, survives, and they survive by hiding out in a forest. And Balder, of course, is in the underworld, so he survives because he's down there. Um, so Balder is the light. He's kind of like Jesus in a way.
I've thought that too, Balder and Jesus. There's some similarities.
Yeah. So yeah, he's reborn. He is resurrected from death, and is kind of the All Father, the new All Father, the new Odin. So he's Odin's son, but he's the savior of this new world, and so we can do that psychologically. Like each of us has our own internal light, our internal Balder, so to speak, and as our different parts that aren't really healthy or serving us can kind of they they self-immolate, like Stuart burning the world. um, there's this alchemical process that happens, and there, it's like the phoenix in the ashes. So this is happening at all levels, this phoenix. So
Yeah. And where's most of the story about these survivors at in like the text or whatever? Where's
that's in
that?
that's in the Voluspa. That's one of them.
I have that somewhere. I bought it not too long ago. I need to actually look at it.
Yeah, but it's I'm pretty sure they're in at least one other, if not more, spots, and I wish I had that answer because um, it is cool to learn. Like, oh, okay, not everybody dies. Like there are survivors.
Yeah,
There's
I always thought everyone croaked, so that's good to know.
yeah.
Something hopeful. So what do you do? Let's say you're having a low, crappy energy day. What is a meditation that you would recommend? I know going into the woods is that definitely that's part of it, but I know you have a lot of different exercises and meditations. Is there one in particular that could help us when we're feeling crazy as hell, which is a lot lately? It needs some balancing.
Yeah. Um, yeah. First one that comes to mind is kind of a meditation that I have in the book of kind of becoming the tree, becoming the world tree. And do you want me to just tell you about it, or do you want me to guide a meditation through it?
Yeah, we could do it for sure. Yeah, I was just looking through a lot of them on the contents on Amazon. Then I have your book right here, but yeah, we can do that. That'd be cool.
Okay. All right. So
I'm
there
ready.
it is. I mean that is a thing that would help too. Just homing for like a good 20 minutes. That'll do something. Um, okay. So I invite our viewers and listeners to take a moment to just pause and feel into your body. Just kind of do kind of a quick temperature check, like barometer check. Notice how you're feeling. And then bring your awareness to your breath. And you can do this with eyes closed or open, whatever is more comfortable. Bring your awareness to your breath as it's coming in and leaving your nostrils. Feel your chest expand and feel your belly expand and contract. And we'll do a few belly breaths. So when you breathe in, start breathing in from your belly button. So you'll feel your belly button expand. And as you're breathing in, you'll feel that expansion move up into your diaphragm, up into your lungs, and then up into your throat. And you'll kind of end your breath at your nose. And then as you breathe out, you'll kind of start at your nose and you'll feel the contraction go down, breathing out, go into your neck, down to your chest, down into your diaphragm, and you're ending your breath back at your belly button. And feeling that contraction there, pulling towards your spine. So just do a couple more of those. And you can breathe out through your nose or your mouth, either one. So now imagine that at your solar plexus, that you have kind of a ball of light, a ball of energy. And your solar plexus is the spot between your heart and your belly button, a little below your sternum. So imagine that there's a warm, glowing ball of light or an orb. And you can imagine it being a golden or silver, violet, whatever color suits your fancy. I'm going to go with gold. Just feel the warmth of that orb. With each in-breath, just imagine that warmth spreads into your cells, into your body. And breathing out cool air, breathing in warmth. Now imagine that you can actually do this with your hands too, that you are pulling a little bit of that energy out as a thread. Pull like a little bit of thread out of that ball. And pull it upwards. Actually, reverse. Go down. We'll go down first. We'll go down to the earth first. So pulling that thread downward, down your spine, out your sacrum, into the earth. Imagine it going through the layers of the earth, down into the core, and kind of sew it into the core or weave it into the core, and feel that warmth of the core of the earth, sending energy up that thread through each layer, up into your sacrum, up your spine, and back into the core in your center. And feel that connection. Feel the creative energy of the earth and the love of the earth that's just producing all this life. Breathe that into your cells. And now we'll go up. So bringing that thread, which is connecting the core of the earth, up into your core. Pull it up your spine, out of the crown of your head. Imagine that it goes all the way up, out the atmosphere, into space, and straight to the sun. And you weave it into the sun, or sew that thread into the sun, making that connection and feeling that solar power, that solar energy move down the thread into your core. Feel the creative energy and the warmth and the light of this golden energy, life energy. And from the sun to your core to the earth, just that unbroken thread. Back up from the earth to your core to the core of the sun. So these three cores connected. Feel the energy flowing up and down this thread. Permeating your cells, going into places in your body that are wounded or hurting or aching, places where it wants to go. Let the energy move where it wants to move. Now, kind of superimposed on this kind of world axis or column that you've created, imagine that's a tree, and reaching down into the earth. You imagine your roots. Out from this single thread, there's a plethora of threads that are spreading out like roots, and they're rooting into space, into time space, into the void, pulling nourishment, life energy up from all these threads up to your core, which is now the trunk of this world tree, this cosmic tree, this trunk that is solid and strong, healthy, and also flexible. And imagine it going upward, reaching the crown of your head, where it branches out again into branches, into countless branches reaching into space, into time space, with leaves sprouting, soaking up energy, soaking up breath, soaking up life, love, and just feeling all of that moving down into your trunk, down into your roots. Again, this cycling up and down, pulling in energy from space, pulling up energy from the underworld, so to speak, or the void. Now sit in this presence of Yggdrasil, of the world tree. Feel your rootedness. Feel your strength and stability and centeredness. Immovable. Feel your expansiveness above, reaching. Totally open. At peace. Ready to weather any storm. Knowing that you can't move. If a storm comes, you can't walk away from it. You just have to be through it. Feel your strength, your flexibility, your rootedness, and your expansiveness. Breathing in air, breathing out. Sending life energy to the world around you, to all those other trees out there, all those other beings. Breathing in their breath and breathing out your breath for them, a cycle of breath, life breath. It's weathering the storm. Giving, loving, living. In this moment. Letting the energy flow where it wants to flow, wherever the wounds are. It can be other people's wounds too. You can send some of this energy to someone you know who may be hurting or who may need it. And you can send it to yourself, wherever you're going through. All right. Well, we're going to end pretty soon, but before we do, just take one final kind of barometric check or temperature check of what it feels like to embody this tree, this cosmic tree, this cosmic pillar. Sun, body, earth connected. We'll take a few deep breaths into the belly. And send some thanks to the world tree. Send some gratitude out there for life, to the sun, to the earth, to your body. Thank you for this life. Thank you for this experience.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
You should do a CD. Your voice goes good with it, for sure. Could do a Norse meditation CD.
Yeah, maybe. Thanks for doing that. Yeah, what was that like for you?
It was good. My mind kept going to the places, seeing it like visually, like the tree. For some reason, I kept thinking about it. And there's some kind of serpent under the tree or something, like some kind of drag. I kept seeing that. Like I was like, okay, but you know, and the universe and the sun. I saw it visually in my head as you were describing it.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with the snake under the tree? The dragon.
Yeah. Yeah. Always gnawing at the tree.
What's that
Like
dragon called? What's his name?
Nithhog. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that totally correctly. Nithhog, something like that.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. Always gnawing at the roots. And it's one reason why the Norns are they're always taking care of the tree, because the tree needs to be taken care of, because not only is the dragon eating at the roots, and there's four hearts or four deer that are also gnawing on the branch, the leaves and the branches, and so it's a beautiful kind of message that comes through that image, is this idea of sacred reciprocity, which is very much a part of Native American, I don't know, animist cultures all over the world, but this idea that we have to give, this we are giving and we are receiving, and that when we stop giving, we stop receiving. So we taking care of the world tree is absolutely vital, in making sacrifices or offerings to ensure the life of this tree. Because if we stop, then the dragon will eat. The dragon and the tree will get eaten too much. And yeah.
What do you mean by you bring up fragmentation a lot? What do you mean by that?
That whole idea is basically, that comes with the idea of the web of weird, and the web being this idea that everything's connected. And the way I describe it in the book is that there's the domains of mind, body, relationship, environment, soul, and spirit. These different domains are all connected in a great tapestry, and this is the web of weird. And this web is fragmenting. Like there are wounds. There are wounds that have not been addressed or healed within each domain, and because of that, the web is fragmenting. Things are falling apart, basically. Mm-hmm. And it will lead to a self-destruction. So the idea is to notice that the fragmentation is happening, where it's happening, and then making offerings of time and space and energy and awareness and action to heal these wounds.
It's like soul retrieval, like with shamanism, soul retrieval.
Yeah, that's one way to do it, for sure. Bringing these parts back, bringing the parts back into wholeness, back into wholeness.
I know there's been a lot of TV shows with Norse in it, and they're okay. I mean, of course, there's Vikings, and that was decent at times, and sometimes it wasn't. But what's the other one? I remember Last Kingdom. That was pretty good. I like that one. It seemed more serious and not as, I don't know, kind of trashy as the other one. But Valhalla was pretty good. That was from the same connection to the first series. But what's the one? What did I just see with the Vikings with Kirk Douglas? Me and Christina watched that the other day. That was weird. It was 1958.
Oh, I've never seen that.
With Kirk Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of, I don't know. It was It was weird, but I mean, it's fun to watch. But just
Yeah.
kind of weird. They didn't seem to be. There was no like shield maidens in it. All the women just seemed like they were like, they're prostitutes or something. but there was definitely some things that I've noticed with the other series. There's more women warriors at least now, but that was a long time ago. So maybe they didn't even. I know there's a whole story about finding some shield maiden in her grave or something. So, but the 1958 one missed that boat entirely, apparently, because there weren't like any female warriors in it or anything.
That's the times, right? That was the zeitgeist.
Yeah. There's the Long Ships. I need to watch that. I haven't watched it yet. That's an old one. Called The Long Ships.
Have you seen the Northman?
Yeah, I saw the Northman. That was pretty good. I like the guy that makes the witch and lighthouse and everything. It was good.
Witch was one of my favorite. I love that. I love the Witch. It really captures the wilderness like so well.
It's creepy for sure. Yeah. He's doing Nosferatu next. I love that. I love some Nosferatu. That's one of my favorites for sure. So I'm interested in how that's going to go.
Yeah.
Like the old black and white one, and then the Klaus Kinski one. That's Werner Herzog made. That's pretty weird. A weird watch. We did like a color one. I forget, like in the 70s or something. But
what's that one?
There's a Nosferatu that Werner Herzog did.
Oh yeah, I know the soundtrack. Yeah, I love
Klaus Kinski's in it. Have you never seen it?
No. I really like that band. That band that does a lot of the soundtracks. Popol Vuh.
You got to see the Werner Herzog one sometime. It is a trip for sure. There was some other one, Nosferatu in Venice. I never watched that, but Klaus Kinski's in it. It's kind of like a weird sequel to it that made no sense. I haven't seen it, but I doubt it's as good as the color one or whatever. But of course, one of the best ones, Shadow of the Vampire. I love that with Malkovich and Defoe as Nosferatu. You ever see that? That's great.
It's been too long. I need to watch that again.
That's a good rewatch for sure. It's a crazy one, but the guy that did The Witch is doing a Nosferatu. I think Skarsgård's playing the Nosferatu.
Oh, that fits. Yeah, that makes sense.
He's doing the Crow, and I know he's doing the Crow too, but I don't know how that's going to be. He's a good actor. But so what about you listen to a lot of Norse music? Wyrdcraft. I love that. There's so many different ones. Is that something you do a lot?
Yeah, I love Wyrdcraft, and Heilung is really good. And
who was that? Who?
Heilung. Heilung.
How do you? Oh yeah. Okay, I got you. Heilung. Yeah.
There's a few that are these older bands from the 90s that I'm really into. They're more traditional folky, but also with kind of a 60s folk influence as well. A little bit psychedelic and a little dancey. But anyway, a band called Gjallarhorn.
Spell that if you can.
Yeah, it's GJALLARHORN. Gjallarhorn.
One word?
Yeah, one word.
Okay.
And their Gjallarhorn is that's the horn that was blown at the start of Ragnarok. Heimdall's horn, but they're great. They have some really good YouTube videos, Gjallarhorn. And another one called Hedden and Garna. And they've
and Garna.
That one is spelled HEDNINGARNA.
Okay, I got them. I spelled them. There we go.
Yeah.
My Georgia got it.
And I think Garmont and the Garnet. There's another one, but I'm spacing on the name. But they're all kind of similar, kind of like. You know Pentangle, that English band Pentangle, or um, Sandy Denny, like Fairport Convention, or
Uh-uh.
yeah, they're like these '70s folk rock bands that were really good. But yeah, Gjallarhorn and Head Nagarna are kind of like the Norse equivalent of those English ones, and they're kind of they're bringing back the traditional, traditional instruments and traditional songs. But, like Vardruna is doing that too, but I feel like Vardruna, they're more like droney. They're droney and trancey and kind of
Yeah.
slow. It's awesome journey music. Um,
It's haunting.
yeah, but yeah, Gjallarhorn, and they're more of like a folk, more traditional, I would say. I mean, from what little I know, I'm not a historian, music historian or anything, but
I'll check them
I
out for sure.
yeah, I actually have I could plug my own music a little bit.
Sure,
I
go
have
ahead.
a band called, kind of a solo project, but it's called Maze Morphia, Maze, Maze, and then Morphia, Morphia, and the idea of it being a maze that's always changing, and that being kind of life, or the soul's journey or something. Maze Morphia. So the first two songs on there are called the album's called The Wanderer, and it's loosely based on Odin, on the Wanderer Odin, and it kind of combines some other myths in there. There's a mention of Tiresias, and so there's some Promethean theme to it, and there's a song about God of dreams, um, and yeah, so it's mythological and kind of bardic, and it has great synthesis, multi instrumentalist synthesis named Lisa Belladonna, who plays on it, and her work is just mind blowing. I mean, next level, next level kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, Maze Morphia. So I'm definitely a music fan, and I've been playing music a while. But
I wrote them all down, including yours. I'll have to check them out for sure.
cool.
And
Are you a musician or just a music fan?
I just like music, but no, I'm not.
Yeah.
But definitely like music for sure. Like a lot of Carlos and Naki. I always say his name wrong. The native guy, does all the meditation and stuff, flute music. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Love the Norse stuff. I like a lot of, and then I like a lot of metal, Tool, and stuff like that. But that kind of fluctuates as you get older. Things that you used to like, you don't like as much. That's for sure.
About any Norwegian black metal?
No, but I saw some movie with that Macaulay Culkin's brother or something about that. I forget what it was called, Lords of Chaos or something. Mm-hmm. That was a crazy watch. Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with some of it, but I don't really listen to it. I like a lot of music like metal, that I guess that you can understand. Their voices are unique, like Alice in Chains and Typo Negative and Tool, and I love Nirvana. I like unique voices. Like in music, there's just so much crap that sounds like it's all this, like the same person almost.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense.
I like 9 Inch Nails. There's so many. It just depends. I like Rob Zombie. It just depends. But lately, I like just a lot of meditation kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I used to be into Manson. Now that's kind of hard to listen to since he's like a pervert with all this crazy court stuff and stuff. He's always been kind of creepy regardless, but not really into that as much, but I used to be. I went to the Antichrist Superstar tour. That was crazy as hell back in '96 in Atlanta. I think I'm still recovering from that one. That was so nuts. but I was listening to New Limp Bizkit not too long ago. That was good. They did a funny one called, I think it's Out of Style, but in it, watch it if you can on YouTube. Each one of them's Putin, one of them's Biden, one of them's Zelensky, one of them's the North Korean dude, and they're doing the music in their band, and they're dancing around with their faces like it's creepy. But it's called Out of Style. The video's worth a watch one time at least. My mom was like, I like that, but I'll never watch it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I grew up on a lot of Guns N' Roses and Nine Inch Nails and Beastie Boys and stuff like that.
Yeah, Nine Inch Nails was a big one for me too, like in junior high. I think Nine Inch Nails helped me heal a lot of Catholicism, like kind of heal a lot of that Catholicism stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen to Pretty Hate Machine during chemo. It's kind of weird in that album. There's a picture of him and he's got his head shaved and he's like in the sun. That's weird. That's kind of like, I went through the bald stuff too, and I remember listening to that a gazillion times during all that. Pretty Hate Machine, for sure. They haven't put out anything in a while. They've put out some stuff. It's mostly like instrumental.
I saw them live about, I don't know, 4 years ago, and it was the first time I ever saw them, and they were amazing. I mean, they put on such an amazing show. I haven't really stayed up to date with their stuff, at all. So a lot of their set I didn't know, but so good.
Yeah, it's good for sure. It's put out a lot of weird electronic albums that are just no singing or whatever, just weird stuff. You can buy at a site or something. He's done some soundtracks. I know he did that weird soundtrack for The Watchmen, that HBO show about the comic book with Alan Moore and all that. They did that whole soundtrack. That was pretty weird. The show was decent. It wasn't bad. But
when you say weird, what do you mean?
Like weird for what? Just weird in general?
That in general, or just right now when you said it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird for me is just anything out of the ordinary. I guess I associate weird with paranormal more than anything. I mean, there's been some things that I've seen that I still can't explain. For instance, one of my bigger experiences was me and a friend saw some small hooded beings in the woods standing around a black box. And they were like, kind of like Jawas, but not that fat from Star Wars. They were skinny and you couldn't see their faces, but three cloaked beings, like in hoods, standing. A black box was in front of them. And that's weird. And it reminds me of Phantasm or something. They're going to take you, the little dwarfs in Phantasm, but
yeah.
I didn't even know of that movie then. But a cat jumped towards them and they vanished.
Huh. Oh, wow.
And we had been partying and stuff, and sure we were experimenting with stuff, drugs and stuff, but we both saw it. And it's just something you don't forget. But one of the big ones I've always seen is the beings of light. It's been a while since I've seen them, but they just seem like us, maybe without our bodies. I guess that's what I guess they are. I mean, I've heard aliens, angels, and I've heard everything that you could think of. But I kind of wonder if that's what we are in these bodies. I've seen that we're a star in these bodies, which is kind of weird to think of. Our stars, deities, or human souls, or just whatever.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a lot of connections that I've heard too, and about the Fae, the fairy, Fae folk, and angels, and UFOs. That connection, that they're related. They're like in relationship with each other in some way. Either they're the same being, or they're just like different orders of being or something.
There's connections with UFO stuff and fairy lore, being taken, and the mark of the fairy mark, and it seems like the same phenomenon, just dressed up in different ways in a lot of ways when it comes to it. And just the UFO subject in our world now, how crazy it is. With those balloons, and supposedly they shot down UFOs, but they never really told us what they were. Could have been foreign nation weird stuff, drones or whatever. Who knows? It could have been an alien. I don't know. We don't know. They don't tell us, but we're definitely living in an age where UFOs is a hot topic. And then we even had that release from the Pentagon, all that weird footage and stuff like that. So I just think there's like another civilization that lives here amongst us that may control it on some level, but it's always been here. I don't know, may be nefarious, may not, maybe a mixture of different, beings here. But it's definitely fascinating. One of my favorite UFO documentaries, if you've never seen it, is Dan Aykroyd's UFOs Unplugged. The actor, Dan Aykroyd himself, smoking a cigar talking about UFOs. It's on YouTube for free, but it's pretty good. A lot of good footage. But you had any UFO stuff? Ever seen anything weird UFO wise?
I've definitely seen unidentified flying objects, and I've had experiences where some shadowy thing floats through the sky and blocks out the stars. And I've been to an interesting place in Western Mass. That it's a UFO site near Great Barrington, Massachusetts. That actually has a plaque that has been stamped by the governor saying this is a historically proven, UFO sighting happened here, and that was just super cool to be at, because it's like not that the government has to, give the stamp of approval for something to be real, but it's just it's becoming more talked about and more obvious that they're here, they've been here, and they're around. And but yeah, I've had more experience with fairies and with angels, but maybe that's UFOs, maybe that's so. But
what are your fairy experiences? I've had some weird ones where I went out to a yard once and saw silver lights in trees, and it was almost like there was Christmas lights, but there was no electrical cord, and it was almost like there was something, fairy-ish in the trees.
Yeah,
it wasn't glow bugs. It was weird.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When I was, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10, we lived in the woods at the time. I was walking to this. We had a barn, and I was walking along the side of the barn. And then when I got to the corner, this little, woodsy fairy peeked around the corner and looked at me, and I stopped in my tracks. And then it just it stuck its head out, and then it went back, and I was just like, holy shit, that was something I just saw. And I ran to the corner and looked, and it was gone. That was
what did it look like?
It looked a little bit like Hoggle from Labyrinth.
Like the little pudgy cheek little dwarf thing?
Yeah. Looked a little bit like that. And
nice.
And then other experiences when I was older, and they looked more like light. They were more like light beings. And where one was hanging out in a tree, kind of looking at me in a tree, and then one walked right towards me, and actually we came face to face, and it was a scary experience, because, well, it's a weird experience. It's not your typical thing that would happen. Like, what do you do? What do you do when you encounter a fairy that close up? And So I just I took a deep breath. I realized that it was coming towards me, and just in the same way I did with the ghost, I surrendered, and um, and it entered me. And then it's interesting. It's like after that happened, I was fearless and very powerful. I just felt very fearless and powerful. And of course it fades. Those feelings fade. I can tap into it now. I guess I still feel it a little bit, but walking around in the dark in the woods at night is I think that's where a lot of weird experiences happen, because it's a liminal space, and it's like a blank canvas for the soul to arise through the imagination, through the veil, and something about courage, like facing these beings and surrendering to them when it's okay, because sometimes they're dangerous, right? You don't want to be any part of them, and you like I've had experiences like that too, where it's like, no, I need to have boundaries with this one. And I put a little thing in my book about that, like an exercise about a banishing using the energy of growling. And I've done that.
I saw that.
Yeah,
about that. Yeah.
I've done that with some of these beings that I've encountered in the woods, both animal and other than animal beings, and it works. It's a
So you growl at them, and that scares them away.
yeah, but it's more so like in that meditation, like that core, like accessing that core, and then projecting that energy into your aura, and basically a don't fuck with me. Like, you do your thing, I'm gonna do my thing. Like, we're cool, but don't fuck with me, kind of thing.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I got you.
It's not like
it's a primal.
Yeah, it is.
Primal scream for sure to scare away the. Was anyone else there when you saw the fairy, or was it you by yourself? With the one that peered around the corner?
By myself. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I've had ghost experiences where other people have seen, but the fairy experiences have just been by myself.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experiences completely sober, but I'm not gonna lie, I've had some on psychedelics as well. Like I had one on Halloween on the lake on Halloween night. I thought I was seeing fallen angels, and they were very reptilian, and they were like holograms, and one was like a hydra, the other one was humanoid, and the closest thing I've seen that come near to their appearance is Mayan gods. Like I have these oracle cards, and there's pictures of their gods that are weird as hell, and it looks like some of those things that I saw. And weirdly enough, they were saying positive things to me, like, we love you, dance, write, and sing like Deepak Chopra, and I was freaking out thinking I was seeing the devil. Being from Georgia. But weirdly enough, I came across some paranormal encounter stories of people seeing a similar being in different states around here, from North Carolina, and they said it had antennas on its head. And I found those online, and I was like, what the hell did I see? I don't know, but it's like when you think about it, you remember it, and it's almost like, do they know I'm thinking about them right now, whatever that was. But it was a weird night for sure on a Halloween night, but some very strange beings that were very different. And I heard music, like some kind of weird music that was strange. And then some guy went nuts and tried to drive us in the lake with his truck and act possessed that night. It was a party night a long time ago. But
on Halloween of all nights.
Yeah, on Halloween.
Psychedelics. I mean, that's some courage. It takes some courage to do that, or some foolishness. But
yes,
you gotta love both. I mean, it does take a bit of foolishness to get through life, right?
You got that right. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Well, we got to end at 5 till. We got about three or 4 minutes. It's been great. We appreciate it so much.
I appreciate it.
Ash, the book's Wyrdcraft. Let me read the whole title. Wyrdcraft: Healing Self and Nature Through the Mysteries of the Fates, and it's on Amazon. It's from Llewellyn, and we appreciate it so much. And keep us on the loop for future stuff. We'll get you back on for sure. Is there something you're working on for the future? I know you may not want to talk about it entirely, but keep us in the loop regardless.
Yeah. Don't really have anything like super solid except doing kind of like traveling around and doing some weird process groups where we explore weird together in a group and explore weird through healing magic together and all that. So I'll be doing that this summer at a bunch of different places, and hopefully I'll be coming down south at some point. But
nice, and yeah, you should think about a meditation CD. I know Evelyn Rizak stuff has like music CDs. They have a lot of that for shamanism. She does Norse stuff too. She's been on, but I've never really seen a meditation CD, so that'd be cool.
Yeah. Thanks for doing that, and thanks to the listeners and viewers for doing that as well. And thanks for having me. It's a really fun conversation. And
yeah, I appreciate it. You helped carry me through. I don't have a co-host tonight, so I've had a few crap weeks of dogs passing away and all kinds of crap. So I appreciate you carrying me through, and the meditation. I felt some bada bing, health Thor, baby.
Yeah, cool.
but we appreciate it. Thanks so much. What's your website and everything?
It's www.weirdwildweb.com, and that's weird with a Y.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Keep us in the loop, and thanks so much. Take care. I'll send you the archive when it gets up.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
You too.
All right, everybody. You're listening to United Public Radio, 107.7 FM New Orleans. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And gosh, who's coming up next? It's not Don Webb. I don't have to look. My memory is just toast. Let's see. I have it right here. I read it out earlier to you, so I have to look at it to remember it, which is bad. But J.D. Walker, that's about Celtic stuff, trees and spirituality and stuff. The 24th Carol Day, that's shamanism. You always like to get our native on. And then Rob and Trish McGregor. They haven't been on in a long time. I got a hold of them not too long ago. They got a hold of me. They're coming back. That's from the oldie goldie days. So they do a lot of synchronicity and stuff. Then April 7th, Don Webb. That's going to be a good one. How to Be a Wizard. But all right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening. And I hope y'all have a good weekend. Finished up Willow. That was a hard watch. I didn't hate it, but something was off with it. Like, it wasn't as good as the movie. Trying to hate on it too bad, but it was, I don't know, something about throwing in the modern weird pop music to battle scenes. It wasn't the best. I hope they save it somehow and regenerate it. One of my most anticipated shows, though, before I end, is Brian Fuller, the guy that did Hannibal, which they cancel like freaking morons at NBC. He is doing a Friday the 13th prequel series on Peacock about Jason Voorhees' mother. He's also doing a Christine with Stephen King, so that should be interesting. But that series should be pretty crazy on Peacock with Brian Fuller and some like Jason Voorhees Friday the 13th prequel series. Let's check that out. But everybody have a good weekend. Good night, everybody.